I'd like to introduce our final speaker this morning, Saran Kaba Jones. She's the founder and executive director of Face Africa. Born in Liberia, Saran Kaba Jones has spent time living in the Ivory Coast, Egypt, France, and Cyprus. Her experiences traveling to these countries made Saran certain that she wanted to do something internationally that would help people, and specifically Liberians. In early 2008, Saran launched Face Africa with the goal of providing educational opportunities to children and young adults in Liberia and other war-torn countries. Saran believes that the most effective way to bring about positive changes in Africa and in the cycle of poverty is to invest in the education of young children. Please welcome Saran Kaba Jones.
Thank you, Monique, for that wonderful introduction. Can I borrow this water? Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I want to take this opportunity to thank Sam and his entire team for inviting me here today. I'm extremely honored to be here to share my story and my experience running a grassroots organization that I founded 3 years ago to provide access to clean and safe drinking water and sanitation to millions in Liberia, West Africa, where I'm from. You know, I'm often asked by my peers and others looking to get involved in community service, what inspires you? What are you hoping your legacy will be? And I say I'm inspired by my generation, all of you sitting here, a community of smart, ambitious, socially conscious young men and women who believe they have the power to change the world and are well on their way to doing so. A generation that believes it can make our world a better and safer one. Being a part of this dynamic group of young people who share my interests, my passions, and my beliefs is the most inspiring thing ever. And feeling like I'm part of such a movement encourages me to push myself harder and make my contribution to this community really count. Over the past few years, I've become a better and more creative person in the process, and I have my generation, I have you to thank for it. My hope is that I can also inspire other young people to work towards leaving our world a bit better than we met it. The path that led me to start Face Africa started when I was really young. I've always had a strong concern and compassion for helping others, and I've always strived to do my best to make others lead a positive life. From a very young age, I was exposed to a world of diplomacy, travel, and community service. My father was a public servant and a career diplomat. Born in Liberia, my experiences traveling the world, as well as my time spent living in 4 different countries, made me certain that I wanted to do something internationally that would help people, and specifically my native Liberia, a country that is still recovering from a brutal 15-year civil war that killed 250,000 people and left hundreds of thousands more displaced. In October 2008, during my first visit to Liberia in nearly 20 years, I left when I was just 8 years old. I was faced with the harsh realities of a post-conflict country and the enormous challenges facing the country. I was exposed to a cycle of poverty that I was not ready for. The long and devastating war had left the country's infrastructures in ruins, roads, buildings, health clinics, schools, farms, factories, everything was almost completely, totally destroyed. With one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, still at 85% today, no electricity, no running water or sewage system, and an inadequate education system, the country had enormous needs and still does. After 2 weeks in Liberia, I left somewhat depressed and disheartened, but I also had a newfound understanding of the needs and challenges, and more importantly, how I could contribute to the rebuilding efforts. While Liberia, like most post-conflict countries, have a million priorities, one of the areas that struck me the most and I felt needed immediate attention was the water and sanitation issue. The world water crisis is one of the most urgent health issues facing us today. Almost 1 billion people worldwide do not have access to clean and safe drinking water. In Liberia, 75% of the population does not have access to clean drinking water and proper sanitation facilities. That's over 3 million people. And the lack of access to clean water doesn't just impact our health, it also impacts economic productivity and educational advancement for girls and women. It's because of these numbers and because of this crisis that I decided that I was going to do something. I began working to raise awareness about the water and sanitation issue in Liberia. In October 2009, with a $10,000 grant, we began implementing our first clean water project in a community of 600 people. With that $10,000, we were able to install a water purification system that currently supplies 600 people with clean and safe drinking water every single day. 6 months later, we started another project with our partner Concern, and with funding from the Chase Community Giving Program of $20,000 that helped us complete a project that now currently provides 250 people with clean drinking water. Since 2009, we've raised close to $300,000, and by the end of this year, we'll implement enough clean water projects to benefit 15,000 people. But running Face Africa has not been without its challenges. We began operating during the economic downturn when a lot of businesses and nonprofits were suffering, and many individuals and businesses had cut back on charitable giving. While people were still giving, they were now more selective on which organizations they gave to. So setting ourselves apart from other organizations was key, and really connecting our goals and missions with potential donors and supporters was important. We took advantage of the new wave of digital and social media, like you mentioned earlier, and started to identify creative and non-traditional ways to fundraise and raise awareness, which has been really instrumental to our success. Bootstrapping was very challenging. We were operating sometimes with little to no budget, and I personally had to fund some of our administrative and operating costs. We had no staff for the first 2 years, and I wore about 12 different hats in the organizations. And also on the ground, some of the challenges that we faced included having limited resources, not having a full team on the ground, simple things like inconsistent electricity, lack of internet access, not having a car, a vehicle, and so on, which is why we started to focus on building strategic and effective partnerships with the communities that we work with, the organizations, and some of the key players on the ground in Liberia in the water and sanitation space. I wanted to end by saying that the mere fact that you're all here in this room attending this conference says to me that you're either thinking about or are already involved in community service. While I don't think we all have to launch a foundation or an organization like I did, I strongly believe that we're all uniquely positioned to have an impact in the world that we live in today. I always tell people, you don't have to start your own organization. Find a cause that you're passionate about. Volunteer your time or your skills to that cause. There's an endless list of things that you can do to take action, to inspire change, and to impact a life. Volunteer at your local soup kitchen or hospital. Spend time in a community garden. Mentor a young person. Speak out against injustice. Raise awareness for HIV/AIDS or domestic abuse, or sponsor a child like I did. And lastly, don't waste another minute of your life doing something that provides no self-fulfillment. Find your passion, start living, and start making a difference. Thank you.